Hello and welcome to another episode of Fear the Talking Heads. I'm here with Chad today. Chad is another one of the Boneheads from Bonehead Weekly. Thank you, Chad, for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. And like your design is appropriate because the zombie on the right had the exact same hairdo I did,
Yes.
where I decided to shave my head.
Oh my gosh. Well, Chad, since you're one of the three Boneheads, I always like to tell people it's movies, TV, pop culture, and banter, but
Hmm.
also interviews occasionally.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yes, Chad and the other two guys, James and Joe, they are hilarious. And sometimes they really do seem like they want to throw mud pies at each other, but I promise you they
No,
love
it's
each
not
other.
sometimes.
They're best friends. They have also audio platforms. You guys are on pretty much anything out there, I think.
Yeah, pretty much YouTube, iTunes. I mean, anything you can think of, you can find us on it.
But if you're only on audio, you're not going to see the funny faces that they sometimes make. So I really think you should check them out on YouTube. Or the cool hats that Chad usually wears. Right,
I
Chad?
have I have a ton. Yeah, I try to we were just talking about my collection of dorky stuff, but that's another collection I have is I try to collect baseball caps where it's my tourist collect. It's wherever I go, I try to collect a hat, and I genuinely try to stick to not the major league teams, but the minor league teams because they're the funnest. They're the more entertaining hats.
You still need something from Wisconsin, I think.
I know. I sent you the list. I'm like, I got to get one of these hats.
Wait, do you have a cheese? Do you have a cheesehead hat
No, I
yet?
do not have the cheesehead hat.
I ca
I would sweat so hard in that thing.
but it's a novelty. I think everyone needs one.
And by the end of it, it wouldn't be a cheddar block. It would be a Limburger block.
Oh yeah, I think you might be right on that. It would smell like cheese, some kind of
Oh
cheese
God, it
anyway.
so would. I mean, I've been wearing this hat less than 30 minutes and I'm already sweating in it.
Oh no. I'm trying to see what's on that. What is on that hat?
So this is actually local. This is the Louisville Bats minor league
Okay.
baseball team,
Okay.
but it's a
Cool.
collaboration they did with Marvel where they redid their mascot. So, and I thought
Nice.
it was appropriate for today's topic.
Really surprised that I only just watched this about 4 weeks ago.
It's maddening talking to you sometimes when you
I
say, "Oh, I just now watched this movie."
But Chad, I have told you before that some of the more obscure movies that you talk about,
Oh,
I
I
mean, it's
know.
it's in my notes, like on my phone. So I'm like, oh, I've never even heard of that one.
The Monster Squad.
1987's Monster Squad. So you know what I did? I was like, what
Yeah.
else was I watching around this time that I somehow completely missed this as a kid? I was born in 76, so I was 11 then.
Okay.
And A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors came out that year. The other one, Creepshow 2 and
Nice.
RoboCop. So these were movies that either my dad or my mom were renting and bringing home. And so I got to watch all of the adult-oriented kind of movies before I probably should have.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on it though. I mean,
Here's the funny part. Like for me, as a kid, I got introduced to those horror movies too, like really young, way younger than I should have. And I was a very sensitive kid, so those horror movies messed with me quite a bit.
oh,
Like, my mom tried to make me watch Nightmare on Elm Street, like when it first came out, and it traumatized me. My cousins were into Friday the 13th, and I lived in a rural area where we were surrounded by woods, and
oh
I was
no.
afraid to go outside at night for a
Oh
long
no.
time. So I generated more towards the monster movies that were
Universal Studios, right?
like, yeah, more low key.
Okay.
Like, for example, Critters, and
Right.
movies like that. And then when Monster Squad came out, oh man, it was right up my alley because I loved it. Was Monster Squad was, and I've mentioned this on our show, it was my introduction to Universal Monsters. I hadn't seen any of them before. The closest I ever came, and I don't know if you remember these, when we were younger, there were these books from Crestwood House. They were these orange books, and they'd had each one was a about a different Universal monster. Well, these books were in our library in elementary school, and those were the only books I would check out. And then Monster Squad came along, and I'm like, these are the movies that I loved because the
Okay.
the other horror movies were just
Little
now
too
granted
much.
a little too much. Now granted around 8 or 9 I got better, and when that's when I saw part 3 of Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic.
Do you think that you liked it? Because honestly, there's a lot of talk about how the first and second one, that's where Freddy was more sinister, whereas
Yeah,
three on,
he's
he's
more
just,
comical.
yeah, he's more comical. Do you think that's maybe why you appreciated it more?
Yeah, and I think that was more of a slow burn for me, because it was now granted when the puppet scene came out, I was like, God, ugh, but I couldn't stop watching it.
This is not a movie that I would have even entertained if had it not been for Scarefest. If they had not been announced as guests this year, I still would be sitting here not having ever seen it.
Oh man, that's
I know.
unbelievable.
And I'm
Um,
watching it and I'm just in love with it now. I can't even believe it took me this long. And I said, I really have to watch this again around spooky season. I just think it would really have those Halloween vibes that,
that's generally when I watch it.
do
I
you?
will usually
Okay.
pop it in around Halloween, and it's one of the first horror-esque movies I introduced my girls to,
Did they
because
love it?
they're still quite young. Now I introduced it to them actually 2 years ago.
Okay.
So they would have been like 8 and 6,
Okay.
and they were amazed. It just made me happy.
It's like a gateway to horror, right?
Yeah. And from there they've actually, like, just like me, they like to talk about Frankenstein and the werewolf and
How must that feel seeing movies as a kid and then later on loving these movies so much that you want to show them to your kids and your kids actually like them? That
oh,
has to be such a cool feeling.
it's honestly one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah.
Now some of them are disappointments when I'm like, this is one of the best movies ever made, and they're like, meh.
And you're like,
But
how do you
but
not like this? This is a classic.
but when it works, I'm like, yeah.
So we have Dracula,
Dracula.
Wolfman,
Mm-hmm.
the Mummy,
Mm-hmm.
the Gill Man,
He's called Gilman in this one, yeah.
Gillman,
Mm-hmm.
and then the fifth one,
Wait, hold on. Yeah,
oh, Frankenstein's monster.
played by Tom
So
Noonan.
and you'd never know by looking. I mean, you just know it's
No,
someone that's super tall. And Tom Noonan, he had just come off Manhunter like I think a year before, and then they wanted him for something else that was kind of a really dark plot to it.
right.
And so he was supposed to be in that, and he says, "No, no, I really wanted to go do this other thing, and I want something lighthearted now." Like, "No, no, no, I want to go play with the kids, be a Frankenstein's monster."
This is where my love of Gilman started. I mean, the creature from the Black Lagoon is still my favorite Universal monster.
That's
Uh,
cool.
yeah, yeah. This is where my love started for him is this movie.
And then it just
So
branched out from
it just
there.
branched out from there. Then I got to see the. Now, granted, it was years down the line, but I got to finally see the original, and I'm like, this is amazing.
So someone who's never seen the movie before, Chad, what would you say to them to encourage them to watch it?
The five biggest monsters in movie history come to this small little town to seek a way to destroy the world, and the only thing that stands between them is a group of kids who just want to kick ass.
And
And,
they
and
do.
they do.
I already know who your favorite monster was, but who was your favorite kid?
I think you can see that by looking at how I changed my
I
name.
thought so, but I just wanted to make
It
sure.
was it it was always Horace because I was Horace.
He
I
had some
was
of the
fat.
best lines.
Yeah. I was fat kid when I was the fat kid who always got picked on. And at that age. And
And
so I looked up to Horace.
and you said you did watch the documentary, you were just wanting to watch
No,
it
I didn't
again.
get to watch the
Oh, you didn't
documentary.
get to watch it.
No, I
Okay.
wanted to. I wanted to watch Wolfman's Got Nards.
Oh, I can't wait till you see it. It's
I'm
so
excited.
good. It had like just trivial information in there. Like I didn't know that the guy that played Horace, I didn't know that he died at age 22.
I didn't know that either.
Apparently he had pneumonia
Yeah.
and he didn't pull through.
Oh, that's depressing.
It's so sad. And
Because
I
he didn't do much after this movie. So,
no, he was actually going into law. He was
oh wow.
studying law.
That's kind of a weird parallel
Yeah.
because look at Chunk from Goonies. He did the same thing.
No, did he really?
Yeah, yeah. Chunk from Goonies, he had a little bit of success after Goonies, but then he didn't want to be fat anymore, so he kind of buffed out and became this
Okay.
big muscular guy. And he was like, nobody wants to hire sexy Chunk. So he's a big
Oh,
entertainment lawyer.
I think he did try to get more roles or something, but it didn't pan out. And I feel bad saying this because they're children. There are some kids that really they just don't act well. But
Yeah.
in this movie, there was no child actor that I looked at and said, God, I really wish someone else would have been cast for this role. They were all great.
Yeah.
And I feel like my favorite of the kids was definitely Phoebe. She was just like, he's friends with us. Just like, oh my gosh, she's adorable.
Come on, guys, don't be chicken shit.
Come on, don't be chicken shit.
That's what I love that line.
Fantastic. There's a couple things in it that today in today's world would not fly, but it's 1987. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it was right. I'm just saying that it was a different time. And I was curious, like, how would it change in
The
today's
kids wouldn't have
world?
as the kids would not be as foul mouthed as they were in this one.
Phoebe would have led the pack. A
Probably.
girl, yeah, a girl would have led the pack. That's how a lot of movies are now. And
She would have been the Sean.
I don't have a problem with that. I like seeing girls in those roles, but I think that's how it would change.
I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
In fact, it helps. You know what I mean?
Well, you're a girl dad too.
Well,
You
yeah,
want to
that
see
too.
girls, lifted up.
I generally try to show the girls. Yeah, I show them movies that aren't, but I do try to show movies where the girl is the protagonist or the leader, which is why they like the girls
Yeah.
Ghostbusters more than the original.
Nice.
So,
I can appreciate that.
yeah.
Well, one of the things that they do talk about too, I don't want to tell you everything because I want you to see some of it for yourself from the
No, please do. I
documentary.
don't It's okay.
But the girl that played Phoebe was truly fearful of the guy that played Dracula.
Duncan
Duncan
Regier.
Regier. Yes.
Regier.
Yes, that's the one. So she was fearful of him. So the point when he walks up to her and he says, "Give me that." You know
You
which part.
bitch.
I know, I was so not expecting that. And he actually scared me in that moment. Fred Decker, he said there's gonna be a point when he lifts you up that you're gonna want to scream. She goes, "Well, when? When would you like me to scream?" Because she said, I was this kid actor. I wanted to do everything correctly. And he said, "You're gonna know. You'll know when it's time." She says, "Okay." So then he lifts her up and he said that line. And she screamed, but she said she was so scared that on the first try, she went, ah, and she couldn't scream all the way because she was so scared. So he had to take another take of it. And he said, "You gotta scream for longer, hon. You gotta do this for a longer scream." And then wow, she really wailed on it. But it was great. And the relationship she had with Frankenstein's monster, I just loved that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how it was going to go. I was like, how dark is this going to be? When you see him walking up to her and she's sitting by the lake, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, the
because
movie.
it's a tie into the original Universal because in the
Yeah.
original he kills the girl.
Yes, I was worried. I was like, oh, please let him not hurt the little girl. So when she was like, "No, it's okay. He's friends with us." That's my favorite Phoebe line. She's so innocent and so cute.
She is.
Oh my gosh. So do you have it on
Yet,
DVD?
I believe it or not, I do not.
Oh, I'm
I it's
shocked.
it's always streaming, so I watch it on streaming. I need
Okay.
to buy the Blu-ray because it's been discontinued like twice. And they keep bringing it back, and I'm gonna run out of luck one day, and I'm not gonna have a copy of Monster Squad, and I'm gonna be
Right.
very depressed.
'Cause you're
But
gonna
it's
get
one,
the spooky season and you're not gonna be able to watch it.
I know, right? Just one of these streaming services are gonna say, you know what, we're not adding this to our catalog this year,
Right.
and
But yeah, I mean, I think that's cool that they got it on DVDs. There's some things out there that you can't get on DVD. They're just sitting on VHS still.
that's usually how I am. If a movie I know that comes out that's in limited release, I will buy it just so I can have the hard copy because all three of us boneheads are huge on hard copy. I said Horace was my favorite, but who runs a close second is Eugene because Eugene I think has great lines that Horace doesn't. Like Mummy came in my house. Here's a couple of parts about the Monster Squad that still bother me. So Joe he picks apart Goonies like crazy.
Oh,
Still drives me nuts.
okay.
And he's going to listen to this, and I'm like, Joe, it's okay. But there are parts about Monster Squad that I still like. As a kid, it didn't bother me, but as an adult, I'm sitting here going, why was he so obsessed with getting Frankenstein's monster? Dracula almost breaks out in tears when Frankenstein comes back to life. And I'm like, why is that happening? I'm like, is there something going on here that I don't know? Is there some kind of love between the two?
Bromance of some
Yeah,
sort.
because it's never explains why he is so emotional about Frankenstein's monster coming back to life. And the other aspect of Monster Squad that still bugs me to this day is what the hell purpose did the mummy serve? Literally
Yeah,
anybody could have defeated him.
yeah.
Phoebe could have kicked him in the shin and he would have fallen apart.
I know you like Creature of the Black Lagoon, or in this case, Gilman. I know you like him, but him and the Mummy, they really didn't get a ton of scenes.
They didn't. They
Yeah,
didn't. But the Gill Man, at least you could see that he was strong because he lifted up Frankenstein's case and threw it,
right.
you know. But the Mummy, he just walked around like an arthritic
That's true.
person
Yeah.
and then just did nothing the whole movie.
Yeah, so if you like mummies, you might be just a tad
Yeah.
disappointed because he
The
doesn't really
Mummy,
get a lot of screen time.
he did, and then his scene is, oh, he dies. The Universal Mummy is almost the exact same as Dracula if you watch them two together, because I mean they pretty much do the exact same things.
Well, and apparently true mummies were very tiny.
Right, yeah, because I mean
So,
they're dehydrated humans. They're human jerky
yes,
in
yes, they
bandages.
are,
That's what
for
they
lack of a
are.
better word. But yeah, that was something else that they had said on the documentary, was talking about how small they actually are and how they needed someone that was kind of in small frame or whatever.
Yeah,
And Dracula was kind of just so mean. He wants to get stuff done, and he's that part
yeah.
towards the end when he's walking through people and he's just like he's
He's yeah,
literally like
he's just
pushing people out of his way.
ripping their heads off, and I think at one point you hear the Wilhelm scream, if I'm not mistaken, when he rips one of the guy's heads off. I might be wrong on that. My brain might be freezing on me.
It's funny the way they set that up towards the end. And I was just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, he's just like pushing people out. He's just so mean, like mean-spirited. But it lands well for the movie. And
And
of course,
he's dressed so corny too. That's what he's got the, what is that, a cover button? I don't know that frocky, the same thing Jerry Seinfeld and goes off in
oh
the
yeah.
episode. He's wearing that shirt, which is like the most unintimidating shirt in the history of men.
Well, and then do you want to talk about the Wolfman? He's a very different kind of design. I've never seen another Wolfman in a movie that quite
Right.
had that appearance.
And when John Grise, oh, he was perfect in that movie.
Yeah.
And when he transforms in the phone booth and he goes, he's going to kill your son. And then he just kind of hulks. I don't know, that walk he does
Oh
where he kind
yeah.
of pounces instead of running. I just thought that was so menacing. Now, granted, it's probably because the costume was so thick and rubber that he couldn't
Oh
move
my
his
God.
legs right, but
Yeah.
it still came across as one of the most menacing monsters in the whole movie.
And there's a scene where he's at the cop shop or police department, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. And I wasn't sure that that was him or not because this guy is claiming to be a werewolf. Is he really the werewolf? Because you didn't know at that point in the movie
Point,
if that
yeah.
was if that was really him or not. But he's like, as soon as he started throwing people around, I'm like, oh, that's definitely the werewolf.
And then he transforms in the body bag and it's all like, you know, just going up and down, and you're hearing the crunching. And I mean, there's just so many good scenes with Wolfman, especially when he's tied up in Dracula's house,
Yeah.
and Dracula's given all the plot details. Basically, he proceeds to, after Dracula leaves, he spits out the pills that he'd been forcing him because he was acting like he was drugged the whole time. I mean, John
Yeah.
Grise does an amazing performance in this movie. So
Yeah. I was impressed with all the Universal monsters in this. And then
Uncle Rico is the backbone of the Monster Squad, in my opinion. Wolfman's had a very impressive career.
it didn't get a huge box office run when initially it came out, which, by the way, Chad, I would love to, if you guys haven't already on Bonehead Weekly, I would love to see you guys talk about movies that didn't land initially but blew up later. Have you
Honestly,
done that?
that's a topic we were talking about doing.
Okay, good.
Um, yeah, that honestly, this is the curse of Shane Black, who is the writer of Monster Squad, and Fred Decker, who's the writer who also wrote and directed too. He doesn't have a lot of luck in this department either because they both, Fred Decker had made a lot of good films that just didn't hit, and Shane Black has made some of the best films in honestly cinema history.
The tagline, you know who to call when you have ghosts, but who do you call when you have
Yeah,
monsters?
monsters. Yeah, and the poster is so fantastic. It's that tagline, and then you have all five monsters, it forming kind of like a triangle in the clouds. And then what you have at the bottom, you have all the kids sitting on Dracula's car with their weapons and flashlights. I want that poster so bad.
It goes back to when you were a kid and you saw the cover art on
Yeah.
VHS tapes. If the cover art sucks, you're just not even going to read the back of the movie to see what it's even about.
Yeah, but then it pulls you in. Like that shitty movie, The Dead Pit, had the best VHS cover. It had like a zombie coming out of the ground and it had a button you push and the eyes would flash
Oh,
on the
you're like
VHS.
false marketing. It's a
And I'm like,
sucky movie.
I've got to rent this. And it was the low budget piece of shit. And there was no
Oh
monsters
no.
coming out of the ground. I'm like, why the hell did I rent this?
They were relying heavily on the marketing of the artwork. This has been a lot of fun. I'm so glad that you came on here to do this with me.
I am glad you invited me.
We have other plans, don't we, for
Yay,
something
and I'm
coming up?
excited.
Yes, me too. I'm going to dive into a couple more of his things.
And I'll wear a new hat.
You're going to wear a new hat?
Oh,
You can't wear
yeah.
the same hat for the
No.
different episode. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you next time.